There are certain games that I avoid because I'm afraid that I'll get addicted to them. I've never played World of Warcraft, I tread very carefully when I play Diablo, and I've never played Cookie Clicker until recently. And now I have wrist pain because I couldn't stop playing. Hey guys, welcome. I'm Brandon, and my wife Nikki and I make videos about all things game dev. We hope you enjoy the video. Now, I heard about Cookie Clicker when it came out back in 2013. It was the second most searched game in that entire year, right behind Grand Theft Auto 5, and I avoided it on principle. And that's because, and I'm really sorry to all of you fans of the idle and clicker genre out there, but I avoided it because I thought this game is stupid. It's not even a game, it's just a make numbers go higher simulator. So really quick, if you're not familiar with the game, you literally just click on a cookie to increase your score. Your score counts as currency, which lets you buy more upgrades, which lets you increase your score even more, which lets you buy more stuff, etc., etc. That's literally it. And then I played it, and this was like a week ago so that I could actually do a tutorial on how to make it. And now I'm a hypocrite because I instantly got hooked on that game. And before bed, I was watching The Office with Nikki, except I wasn't even watching The Office. I was sitting on my phone playing Cookie Clicker with The Office on in the background. But the part that got me really hooked on this game is the whole essence of the idle genre, which is you still increase your score even when your phone is off, even when you're not playing the game. So after I played it for the first day, and I played it for hours, I'm not gonna lie, I dreamt about cookies all night. And then I woke up the next morning, and literally the first thought I had when I woke up is, I wonder how many cookies I have now. I wonder how many upgrades I can buy now. Later that day, I ended up uninstalling it from my phone because I can't be that addicted to a game. But this whole situation got me thinking, how in the is it possible that a game with literally no actual gameplay elements is just a glorified shop system? How can that become one of the world's most searched games? And more importantly, what lessons can we take away from it as designers? Can we, in an ethical and responsible way, duplicate that level of fun so that players want to keep coming back to the games that we make? So let's break down what the appeal of this game is, and I can break it down into 5 quick points. 1, it's simple and memorable. You can ask a buddy, hey, did you play that game where you click on a cookie? That's weirdly memorable, but also you just described the essence of the entire game, so it's very simple and uncomplicated. 2, you can play it for just a few minutes or even a few seconds at a time if you want. The game demands very little time from you, and let's be honest, if you're playing it on your phone, you're probably playing it when you're in the bathroom. Being able to check your progress, buy some upgrades, and then turn your phone off and be done with it for a little while makes it feel really accessible and really undemanding. So you're just more likely to pick it up more often. 3, because it's all numbers driven, it's really easy to just take a snapshot and send it off to a friend, and you end up in competition with other people to see who can get the higher score. 4, idle mechanics. I personally don't really like idle mechanics, but that's just because I find them addicting and I try to stay away from things I find addicting. But they work, especially for mobile games. And as a player, when your game is working for you in the background, even when you're not playing it, you're just that much more likely to want to keep on coming back and check on your progress. And 5 is obviously the reward structure. Now, this point is really worth studying, and I didn't really think about it too much until I tried to make my own version of Cookie Clicker. And by the way, I'll throw a card up there so that you can check that out if you want to, but you can make it completely from scratch if you follow this video. But I went through several iterations of the reward system in that game, and tiny little tweaks in the numbers in how much things cost and how much cost increases each time you make a purchase makes a huge difference. One tiny little tweak can really adjust the fun level in that game, and that made it really sink in for me. There is a very effective way that you can give rewards to your players and a very ineffective way. If their score increases too slowly or upgrades are too expensive, players are going to get lazy and they're going to give up really fast. And yet somehow on the flip side, if your score increases too quickly or upgrades are too cheap, somehow it also still loses the fun factor. So there is a really fine line that you can find. And it seems to be right where the reward feels just out of reach for the player, and they have to work just hard enough to get it. And the numbers should be intuitive enough that players can at least make a good guess in terms of how long it's going to take them to reach that next level they want to reach. Just a few more minutes and then I'll get there, and then I'll put my phone away. But by the time they reach that next goal, they likely already have a new goal in mind. So it's all dopamine driven. It's frequent rewards that are scaled properly. But on the surface, this is not enough to make the game as addicting as it is. There are 2 other factors in play here, I think, that manage to keep it fun. I really want to thank Unity, the sponsor of this video. I recently got a chance to play around with their remote desktop solution called Parsec. Parsec is built for work and play, enabling artists and game developers to access the power of their workstation from any PC, Mac, or even Android devices or browsers. It can handle streaming 4K at 60 frames per second with near zero latency. Getting it set up was as easy as installing the app on my computer, installing the app on Nikki's computer, hitting connect, and I was in. Parsec handles keyboards, mice, gamepads, and drawing tablets flawlessly. I hooked up a gamepad and it just worked, and it felt like I was working on my computer. And it did run really smooth, but I wanted to give this a proper test with a game that requires near zero latency in order to survive. And Hollow Knight was the perfect test for this. And it played really, really well. I had a lot of fun testing out Parsec. It's intuitive and simple, yet very powerful. If you want to try Parsec out for yourself, there's a link down below to start a free 14-day trial. So the first one is there is a really, really controlled drip of rewards and upgrades that unlock as you progress. If you could see every single upgrade that's ever going to be available in the game in the shop all at once, it might make you feel overwhelmed and give up. But as a player, the game hooks you and makes you want to set micro goals for yourself. But by the time you reach that goal, it's very likely that hitting that goal is then going to unlock another upgrade, and now the player is going to set another new micro goal for themselves. So the rate at which you unlock things is really, really controlled. It's really just a carrot on a stick type of situation where the designer is dangling rewards in front of you the entire way, getting you to take one step after the other. And the second factor that I think keeps this reward structure fun is that the growth accelerates exponentially over time. And what I mean by that is, at first in Cookie Clicker, you're basically just a worker bee. You're clicking that cookie constantly. But eventually, when you've bought enough upgrades, you reach a point where time is actually giving you more cookies than your clicking is. And instead of spending all of your time clicking on that cookie, you're spending more and more time trying to figure out which upgrades you want to purchase. So you're working less, but you're earning more now. Interestingly, that's very similar to what every entrepreneur wants to have happen with their business. You have to put in all of the work yourself at first, but as the business starts working for you, you can ease off yourself a little bit later. And eventually you'll basically be able to afford some of the more cheap upgrades like every single second, if not more often than that. But at that point, you're not even going to care because it's so small that it feels like it makes no difference. Except if you buy enough of those small ones, you'll get an achievement. And that achievement is going to unlock another upgrade that is then going to make all of your combined cheap ones that you've now purchased more efficient, which is worth upgrading if you have dozens or more of those upgrades. But that achievement upgrade is much more expensive and you have to work really hard for it. So there's almost always something to look forward to, or another reward that's just out of reach. And if you think about it, a lot of games that have performed really, really well have similar reward structures. I wouldn't normally compare Stardew Valley to Cookie Clicker, but in terms of the reward structure, they're a little bit similar. Stardew Valley also very purposefully does not overwhelm you at the beginning. The mine's not even open yet. You run out of energy really fast at the beginning, so you can't do a whole lot each day, but you work and you start earning money and you level up, which makes certain tasks take less energy, so you can start doing more each day. And this slowly but surely lets you get further and further and further away from your farm to explore more of the game. I don't know about you, but whenever I play Stardew Valley, I always have a goal in mind. What crops do I need to plant by when? Today I want to get 5 levels deeper in the mine. I really want to get this reward from the community center before the end of this season. And it also follows an accelerated growth model. You make way more money in that game later on than you do at the beginning. It's really hard to earn money in that game at the start, but everything that you want to buy later on is much more expensive as well, and that keeps it from getting boring. I haven't played a whole lot of Diablo 4 yet, so I'll talk about Diablo 3. It is a really big deal when you find your first legendary gear, but later on you'll even leave dozens of them on the ground because you're searching for a particular one. Accelerated growth. Steady drip feeding of the rewards. If you're an indie dev, Cookie Clicker is worth studying because it strips all of the gameplay distractions right out of the equation, and it basically gives you the raw formula for how to keep people engaged with something with no real complex systems getting in the way and distracting you. Like the video if you liked, and I want to know your thoughts. Why do you think Cookie Clicker took the world by storm back in 2013? Thanks so much for watching. Bye. I want to give a very special thank you to all of our Hall of Fame patrons: Jakob Yondok, Christopher Nichols, Sandra Kessler, Fontaine Wade, Brainwaves to Binary, Couch, KB at Birdtech Games, and Ian Oral, as well as our early access patrons: Ken Waite, Mason Crow, Liquid Egg, Alexander Prestis, Jude Greaves, Felipe Gomez dos Santos, Ober, Francesco Latamata, Bill Guo, Alone on Mars, Alex Friedman, Danny Rathliff, Neil, Ben Kerberger, Merler, Sam, and Max R. If you choose to support us on Patreon, you can get early access to all of our YouTube videos, monthly alpha builds, and more.